Let's move to our next speaker from Queensland. Penny Claringbull is the coordinator of the Darling Downs Environment Council. She'll speak about her experiences running a local food challenge aimed at eating only food grown within 150 kilometres of Toowoomba.
Thank you. Before I start, I would like to acknowledge that I am on the country of the Guyabal, Jarraware and Western Waka Waka peoples. So Toowoomba is where I'm at, and this is just my little story about the Toowoomba Local Food Challenge. I did this challenge actually as an individual, not as part of a group, but I am connected to a lot of local groups here. So I ended up sharing what I was doing and to hopefully, raise some awareness. So as to why I did this, I've been concerned about food security for a long time. Particularly, I think it is accelerating with climate breakdown and supply chain failures. I also lived in Townsville for a very long time through Cyclone Yassi. We had no electricity in our house for nearly 2 weeks in the peak of the very, very hot season. So nothing kept, everything was rotten. The Bruce Highway was the only way into town, and that got cut through Cyclone Yassi as well. So it was quite interesting to see all the supermarkets bare, basically. There was no fresh fruit or produce, or very, very little for a population that size. And I also have family in Mullumbimby who were flooded this year. Last year. I'm trying to remember when it was. Anyway, and their experiences were really traumatic. And I remember Michelle telling me, she said, I'm standing in the little local shop. There's nothing to buy. There's no electricity. My mobile phone doesn't work. I don't have any cash. I can't get any out. And it was just like, wow, food insecurity is here. So I just thought, what can I do to understand this better? I'm in a good agricultural region, but how accessible is our local food? How available is it? How much is there? What's there around? So I thought, oh, well, I'll just do an experiment. It was so much hard work anyway. So this is what I decided to do. I would eat 99% of my food. The 1% was oil and salt, which I figured I couldn't do without and couldn't get any other way, unless I pressed macadamia nuts, for oil, which I wasn't going that far. So it's 99%. I decided to make that within a 150 kilometre, that's actually radius of Toowoomba, so it's actually 300 kilometres round. I originally started off wanting to do it as a 150 kilometre diameter, but I couldn't get any dairies with that. Toowoomba used to have loads, now there are no more, and the closest ones were in Maleny and Boona, which is a lot further away. So that was the reason why I expanded it. I decided to include produce from my own garden. Not that there was a huge amount, but I do have a lot of sort of, herbs and flavourings and, well, the odd thing, so interesting things in there which would jazz it up. And I thought that was also a good thing to share because I love seeing what other people grow. So I thought I'll do the same. I then also wanted to get a bit creative and have a really broad range of ingredients instead of, baked potatoes every night or something. So, and I also wanted to be inclusive. So it wasn't, I don't know, vegan, paleo, keto. People can get quite passionate about their food choices, but I wanted this to be very inclusive. So I took the whole range as much as I could find, basically. And I was only going to do it, I was going to do it for 30 days, but I made it 10 days because I soon came to realise that it was a lot more work than I thought. So I'll just give you a summary of how it worked out. And I should add, I forgot my map, but we are this circle went to the Darling Downs, which is obviously one of Australia's great agricultural regions, and then down the bottom of our range is the Lockyer Valley, which is a prime fruit and veg growing area. So that was pretty good. It would have been harder if I'd done it in Townsville, that's for sure. Meat, very, very easy, including regenerative agriculture and some, good ethical meat producers. Eggs, I discovered Toowoomba has like 70% or something of Queensland's eggs. No problem there. Dairy was a real challenge. because I could get milk from these dairies, but there was no yogurt or cheese or anything else, just milk. So I got quite good at making my own, and that was really good fun. The big surprise was grains and legumes, because I wanted some, the sort of foundations of meals. And despite us being in this really rich area, it was just about impossible to source them actually locally from these most of the massive farms. The only reason I could is because I happened to have a friend who was a small niche grower, and she would sell me some of her chickpea flour and sorghum and I think some barley, stuff like that. So that was quite a surprise. Tea, coffee, and sugar. We made tea from a camellia plant, which is a flower, but it's related to the actual tea. That's terribly nice. Dandelion coffee tasted great, but I'm never making it again. It was really hard work. And honey was easy for sugar. And I mean, I've got honey. There's a guy two streets from me, so that was as local as you get. Fruit and vegetables, super easy, but only accessible from the farmer's market. So you've got restraints of time and access there. And the spices and condiments thing, I think that's the one I really loved, because I discovered I love Asian cooking and all sorts of spices and flavorings, but I discovered you can do some pretty amazing stuff from your own back garden with things like I don't know, powdered lemon verbena or bay leaves and fennel seeds and things like that. So that was fun. It was very creative. There's some pictures here. There are the dreaded dandelion roots, if you look up the top. And trying to grub those things out of the ground. I'm never making my own dandelion coffee again. In the middle is Bruce, who everything that you see there is all from local farms, and he actually contract grows now, or people come to him and they say, look, I've got a paddock of blueberries or something and I can't sell them. Can you make them into jam or whatever? So that's a really nice business. I did find some cheese down the bottom. You'll see sheep cheese, but it was like, I can't remember, like $100 a kilo or something. So that was a one-off, just as an experiment. And then what I learned out of it, more than I can put on that slide. But first off, it is possible. I did keep to it. I absolutely rigorously kept to it, and I didn't ever break it, apart from the oil and salt, which I decided to give myself permission for. So yeah, I found out that there is a really good range of produce available. But the big deal is, if we didn't have a farmer's market, I'd never be able to have done this. So a genuinely local farmer's market is really important, and to support them and help them flourish is really important. I also found that a lot of local food businesses didn't fit my definition of actually growing their produce. They bought stuff in from other places, but it wasn't local. All right, coming. It was a huge effort to do this because of the accessibility of produce and planning ahead. It was much harder work than I thought. The whole town would never be able to eat this way. There isn't enough. So our massive food systems have created, I guess, a dependency. And you can't access a lot of local food because it's bought through centralised buyers. So our food system actively operates against local food. Definitely. I found that very interesting. And all up, people were very interested. We had 290 Facebook members over that short time, 3,500 views. Meet all sorts of lovely people. It's well worth doing just for the connections you make. And I just felt really healthy. And I realised I had no processed food at all. I cooked everything from scratch. I was out in the garden. I was meeting people. But if I still had children at home, I don't think I would have done this. Mine have grown up. So there's a real, it's not easy. It sounds like a lovely, easy thing, but it's not easy. But it is very, very rewarding.